Shaito has worked with leading Nigerian and international platforms, including Channels TV, Ebony Life, Red TV, Inspiration FM, and Arise News Television. Known for her vibrant on-screen presence and deep cultural insights, Shaito has covered some of the world's most prestigious events, including the 2023 Oscars, the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla, the 67th Grammy Awards. I thought we'd be clapping. And the Met Gala. She currently serves as an international correspondent and head of the entertainment and culture desk at Arise News, where she leads coverage on global entertainment, fashion, and cultural affairs. Without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Shaito. Give her a round of applause.
Now I know how all the other moderators feel when I'm reading out their bios. Oh my gosh, it's thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. So I'm filling in for Gemma. She's supposed to be moderating today, but we are in safe hands of, I mean, I am a journalist after all, so it's my job to always be prepared to ask the tough questions. But without further ado, I mean, very quickly, if you see on the screen there, we're touching on global film investment in this panel, attracting international co-productions and partnerships. And I think that this in itself is a very important conversation as to how we can actually move the culture forward. Now, the goal of this panel will be to draw practical insights, policy perspectives, and real-world strategies from each panelist. Now, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. I'll be starting with, can we put our phones on silent, please? Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, then, so I'm going to be starting with Paul Gans. Is here? Is that distributor, excuse me. Best known, he's been in the industry for over a decade, shaping Nigeria's theatrical and distribution landscape. He has also championed local and international co-productions and pioneered box office successes that elevates Nollywood's global footprints. Please put your... Okay, fantastic. So let's get into it. When we think, I think when we have the conversation about, you know, global film investment, and we've, over the past 3-4 days, it's been about collaboration and collaboration. How do we, if we think about how Hollywood or, you know, other big industries out there have been able to, we've seen a surge in their co-productions. So I'm directing this to Paul now. What do you see as the most critical success factor for such collaborations to thrive?
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here for the market. I have a different approach, I think, than others, because in the US market, we don't really benefit from public money. So co-productions are typically a mix of private money and then maybe public money from a different. For us, it's about really finding the right partner and learning how to merge the two different philosophies of how you do production, who's the star of it, does it lead in the US or does it lead on the continent, and really trying to find that sweet spot. I think that the US is a new and growing market for co-productions. It's something that we haven't taken advantage of all that much in Nigeria. And I would imagine that, you know, there are going to be filmmakers that are from the US, stories, actors that you could bring over here, do a co-production with a little US money and talent, and then maybe do a dual launch on the continent and in the US.
Okay, interesting. I would just like to, I want you to piggyback off what he's just said. As a producer, what makes you decide, okay, I want to produce this film internationally? What's that tipping point for you where you make that decision?
I can give you a background how we work in Sweden, because we rely heavily on collaboration, because our system is actually created like that. So we have something called soft money. It's a government money, so you kind of like you support the creative system. So so therefore we have a Swedish Film Institute, that's the national support, and then we have regional funds like Film Skåne and Film Väst. So we get the main from the institute, and then we do regional co-production. So if we want to go further, then we go to the different countries, like the Nordics. So we rely heavy on collaboration among us, and that's because we created this culture with the Nordic 5, for instance. We have film commissioner from the Nordic 5, the 5 countries like Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. So what they do is like they promote us so we can get to know each other, so we can create this understanding between cultures. So this becomes very easy for us to collaborate. So, and the reason I'm here the second time is like to try to move this here. So if we have like, because I feel like collaboration doesn't just start like I'm calling you, like, you know, let's make a, I think we need to have a understanding, like cultural understanding, because then the risk is like among us, because we trust each other, because we want the project to move forward if the answer. So we already have that culture. So the aim is like to create more understanding between the partners and understand each other, so then it will be easy to collaborate.
Okay, so I like that we have a perspective from Hollywood, we have a perspective from Sweden. So I want to come to you. Let's talk about how it works in Brazil, for example. You have been able to successfully build film hubs, and you know, through those hubs, like initiatives like Espicine, how can Nigeria, or would I say, what lessons can Nigeria or other African markets learn from the model that you currently have in Brazil?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation for the markets. In terms of opportunities of co-production with Brazil, it starts with knowing people, to meet people, and it starts with build trust relationship. That's, I think, it's the very basement of the projects, because as a co-production project, it will typically takes some years. It's not something that will happen overnight. So it's all based on building trusted relationships. But when you go to the legal side and the public investments, in Brazil we have a federal agency that is ANCINE. So it's from the central government. And this central agency, it rules how we can apply for the federal funds and international co-productions. So we have treaties with different countries. Some of them are bilateral, between two countries, like the one that is in process with Nigeria. But we also have multi-country treaties, like, for instance, with Ibero-American countries, there is Spain, Portugal, and some others. So when we have a treaty, it becomes much easier to access the funds, mainly the federal funds. So by doing so, we are able to have a product that will be recognized as a Brazilian product. Even if we have a small share, like up to 20%, we are able to recognize it as a Brazilian product, and by doing that, we will be able to access the funds. And on top of that, we also have, for the past years, Espicine, that is the São Paulo City agency for the audiovisual. They have now cash rebates, so projects that are shoot in São Paulo, they can, besides the other things, we can raise some cash rebate money. So we can mix different, and also private investors in Brazil. There are some, it's not that much as US, that is totally or almost totally based in private investor, but we also have, for instance, now we have a project that will go theatrical that is 60% public funds and 40% private investors.
So what I'm hearing from you is a lot of hybrid solutions to it, from private partnerships to funds from the treaty that you have with these different countries. And I kind of wanted to save Moses for last. So it's almost like looking at what everybody else is doing, but then bringing it back home. Because at the end of the day, when we say attracting international co-productions, we're trying to bring it back home. Moses, what is the largest challenge, or the biggest challenge, excuse me, that you are facing for attracting international co-producers in Nigeria right now?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here, and thanks to the organizers of AFRIFF for the consistency in keeping the conversations alive, and really helping to bridge the gap and connecting filmmakers and helping us to give information. There are a range of challenges, not least the fact that we don't have a treaty framework that makes it easy, kind of easy, or would I say relatively straightforward for people to know how to engage us. And that's been an issue for a number of years now, and that's in the way. There is also the fact that there are not a lot of successful international co-productions to reference, like to say this has worked, this worked for them, this is what budget levels, and this is how it was exploited. So I feel like also when we're even talking about the concept of co-productions from here, or with Nigeria, there's got to be a commercial imperative. Yes, it cannot be about experimenting or just trying to see how it's going to turn out. It's got to be, if I'm going to work with the US, it's because I'm targeting the 40 million plus African Americans and the Africans there. If I'm going to go to Brazil, it's because there's 60 million black people in Brazil, and there is a cultural connection with Nigeria and West Africa. If I'm going to go to UK, it's because of the large diaspora there. There's got to be a commercial imperative, and that's how I think for an independent industry like Nollywood, that's how we've got to look at it at the time being where the treaty framework is not there. And I'm glad that in pockets we're seeing kind of those co-productions materialize. In the audience, there's a director of a film called Son of the Soil, and I like to speak with practical examples. He's British Chinese, and we've had the privilege to work with him on the film, to release the film. It's a UK-Nigerian collaboration, right? That is really, really a good case study of what's possible when, like you mentioned, you find the right partners to work with. The film was premiered here in AFRIFF 2 days ago to a rousing reception. And the prayer is that, when it's released theatrically, it does well. And then when it goes to other platforms, it does well. That becomes a real good reference point, and that helps to catalyze confidence for, to attract more.
Well, I have two follow-ups for you very quickly.
Sure.
You spoke about the treaty framework, and I'm curious, who does the onus fall on to make sure that the treaty actually works for those people that need it to work? Who is in charge of that? And then secondly, we talk about telling authentic African stories and obviously not losing our IP to these, bigger, production companies. A very good example I'll give you. I mean, we've spoken about it in this room before, and I'm sure everybody has watched My Father's Shadow. Fantastic movie. Went to watch it, great, so proud. The first movie that made it to that was, I think, a special mention at Cannes. And then the Oscars come out, and then we hear they're sending it in for a nomination, but it's being sent in as a UK film. Please, so in those kind of scenarios, should we say, okay, because we want international co-productions, do we now kind of give up a certain, I don't know, can I call it our best rights, but for the better, to just for this conversation? So, yes, please.
No, okay, no, because you say treaties, and I mean that money, that was funded from BFI, so therefore, of course, they're going to own it. But if they have the treaties, like you said, then they will own the ownership. So when we do, for example, co-production with Denmark, if Denmark have the minors, so when we are in the distribution, we kind of share it. We did a co-production with them, so they also push it. Even if in the Oscar, because of that, I think that's why they was pushed because it was their money. Yeah. Of course, they came here and shot it here, and they make sure that the infrastructure was doubled here and used a lot of money to use it here. But that's why treaties are so important, like he says, so you can share, the ownership, but maybe not the investment, the return investment. But
thank you for that. Do you want to?
Yeah, look, you said the treaty, who has the responsibility. I'll be honest. I think when you talk about treaties, the government has a big role to play, but I don't think it can be done in isolation. I think that's where we need the guilds and associations in the industry to do a great work of really, challenging governments to, come to the table. And it's got to be, and I think we're doing the right things with that. We need to also be able to play the politics of it, and the attractiveness of this, because it makes us globally competitive, when it comes to, collaborations. And so, yes, the government has a big role, but we also, as filmmakers, are parts of, and I always urge filmmakers to be part of guilds and associations. We also need to champion that, because it can be very, 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 very important to our industry. I also am always very careful also about the treaty framework. The way Nollywood was formed was from a very, very entrepreneurial point of view. And I worry that the drawback to the treaty side is almost kind of relying on, free money, and a lot of, kind of, setting criteria and what's it called, that kind of waters down the art sometimes, or waters down kind of story you want to sell. So we need to get the balance right in our vision to get the treaty framework. And then you talk about the again, maybe kind of speaking to the fallout of when it doesn't work well. I don't want to get political about the My Father's Shadows instance, but I think that we are in a position where we can define the framework and how it works for us, and owning that narrative. I think in the absence of the framework, that's why you can have this My Father's Shadow scenario. Yeah. Because that's what you get when things are not quite properly, defined. That's how I like to kind of vaguely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Please put your hands together for these panelists. They're doing an amazing job. But before we continue, before I come back to you, Paul, I just want to know, how many actors and actresses do we have in the house? If you just wave your hand. Nigerian actress is on. Oh, okay. Okay, we have somebody at the back there. Are you in a guild? Are you in a guild? Yes. Are you in a guild? Okay, because it's important that to make change, you can't just talk from outside. You have to join and try and make change from the inside. I'm just putting it out there. But I want to come back to you, Paul. And I think for me, as someone who has always told African stories, even just being here and watching, all the panel sessions, there was something that David Oyelowo said, that at the end of the day, excellence will always beat prejudice. As long as we continue to tell African stories, we have room for growth. And I'm saying that because I know that ARI now champions inclusive storytelling. How can emerging markets like Nigeria or Africa, at large, position themselves to attract partners looking for diverse narratives? Because the truth is, if you look at a country like Nigeria that has just so many ethnic, we're diverse. If you start to think about all the different stories, there's so much more that we haven't tapped into. So how do we do that?
Sure. I'll start off by saying diverse doesn't have to mean race, right? And the diversity of stories can be rooted in religion, could be rooted in gender, could be rooted in age, in culture, and the power that a place like Nigeria has. It's a very populous place with a lot of people, with a lot of stories that the world hasn't seen. And I feel like we do ourselves a disservice in having this conversation about co-productions if we rely on the concept of treaties. And the reason I say it is because really a co-production, the point is you're trying to find a way to do something a bit easier together than apart. And the treaty is just one thing. At the end of the day, when you look at it, I look at a work production issue, right? Money is tight. People are trying to figure out how to get more for less. The one thing that Nigeria knows how to do is make movies for a budget. And that's something that you can export out as an expertise to attract someone to come over and say, I got this great idea for a movie. I just can't get the financing together to work in the US. I'm just 20% too high. You could say, hey, why don't you bring half that movie over here to Nigeria? And then all of a sudden, that's a co-production. You didn't need any government to do it. You didn't need anybody's permission to do it. What you're doing is solving someone else's problem, and they're helping solve your problem because they're bringing money and assets over here. And you're exporting culture over there. So I just think, you know, as we talk about co-productions, it shouldn't be limited to the idea of governmental interaction, but it should be look at what do you need and see if someone else can help fill that. And then what do they need, and can you help fill it?
All right, thank you so much. So I'm coming, yes, please, thank you. I have so many questions. I'm really getting into it now. Marcio, when we look at, and I mean, we've spoken about this, you know, in a broad, okay, you know, co-productions, but it really does fall into two phases, doesn't it? The development phase and the production phase. I wonder how difficult, and this is really for all of you, but I want to start with you, Marcio. How difficult is it for you to find, you know, financing or, you know, international co-production at the development phase versus production phase?
Typically for a co-production, we look for, and I think my mates will think the same, it's in the development stage. It's much easier when we are still in the development because we can structure the story itself, how it, because that's one of the main things in this type of collaboration, is that you can bring different point of views that will help to have a story that will travel better, that will take care of different cultural aspects, that what is more important for different markets. So if we are in a development stage, it will be much easier. And the production stage, if it's for such any type of co-production, I believe that it will be much more limited. So, okay, I have to shoot these scenes here, and it will be probably much more a production service opportunity than a real co-production. So I think that the best stage is in the development stage, and from there you can do the financing plan and all the other things that you need to put that project up.
So is that the same thing for you all? Is it easier to find the money at the development stage or the latter? Just very quickly.
I think for Nollywood, it's something that is coming in gradually. The concept of funding development isn't something that, how would I say, I'm trying to be careful, isn't something that is readily kind of embraced because of the economics of filmmaking in the industry, right? Some budgets for development would make you 3 YouTube films, right? But of course, because of the ambition we have and the kind of aspirations we have, there is now, you know, embracing of that, you know, stage of filmmaking. But there is still a need for the understanding of the financing of it. That is a challenge, because not a lot of people, because again, funding remains a challenge in this market. Not a lot of financiers understand the need to do that because of the framework they've always been used to. So that would be my own 2 cents. But I think that as we continue to get along and we see success stories of that, it's going to improve. And I think by it improving, we'll also see better films.
Yeah, I definitely want to see better films. Now, I mean, we've been talking about the money aspect of it, of course, global film investment, right? But along with co-productions and partnerships is the synergy of 2 different cultures, 2 different ways of doing things, you know, just 2 worlds coming together. And I wonder, and this is actually for all of you, so I want all of you to answer, how do you handle creative differences when multiple countries are involved in a single production? So ladies first. Because, I mean, that is important too.
I mean, creative development.
Yes.
Yeah.
Differences.
Creative differences. Okay. No, it's just no. I'm just because the thing is like we already have created this culture, a comfortable culture in the Nordics where we collaborate very easily. So therefore, especially now when where we have more POCs in the industry, so it's kind of like a little bit easier to collaborate, and also you kind of choose who you want to collaborate with. So, but then I think it's all about like building a relationship from the beginning, meeting, having speeding date, having workshop and different events. I think that will make things easier because when you create things from different perspective, it's easier for you guys to have a conversation and change. Nobody's taking it personally. So the more you meet, the easier it becomes.
Well, haven't you had? You've never had a situation where?
I did actually.
I want to know how you handled it because.
No, I was honest with this man because we was writing a script and I realized he have no knowledge about the POCs in Sweden. So, and he's like one of the best writers. So I just respectfully told him like, I'm sorry, but this is like something that anybody could have written because it's from the news. So I personally asked him, do you know anybody? He said, no, only you. so that was like our, but we was honest to each other. We had a safe space so we could actually have this talk too. So if you don't have that, if you're new in the industry, so it's kind of hard, so you kind of follow it. So yeah, that's what I will answer.
Yeah, Paul, I'm coming back to you. Creative differences. Has there ever been a co-production or partnership that maybe you had to walk away from or was quite challenging? And how did you get through that to end up at a final product?
Well, the good news is creative differences are not exclusive to cultural differences. Creative differences is probably the other name of the industry that we all work in. I would say this, look, not all partnerships are good partnerships. And you need to develop a sensibility of when to get out and get out as soon as you can. Save yourself the time, the money, and maybe preserve the authenticity of your project. You got it. It's just, you know, you're gonna lose. It'll never work out the way you want it to work out. I know that sounds harsh. I just say all partnerships aren't good partnerships.
Yeah.
I was going to add, and that's well said. I was going to add the point you made about establishing the relationships and trust. I don't think it's something that you jump into. I think it's something that you build over and I think it's also important to have collaborations or co-productions, not necessarily with people you like per se, but people you respect, you know, their work and their, you know, creative voice. I think that once the foundation of that relationship and respect is built, it's also part of the process. I'm going through one right now where the creative differences are normal. We see things very, very differently. But if you're saying you're going to work with me in my terrain and telling a story situated in my terrain, then I would expect that you respect my views of my terrain and how it works here, because I am situated and understand that terrain, just like you said. Just like I would also respect your views of maybe the character coming from another country. You know, I find that those, maybe setting those parameters even before going into, you know, the collaboration often tends to help ease or manage those differences when they occur.
Very well said. Please put your hands together for my panelists one more time. We're going to start taking questions soon, but I want to come back to Marcio before we do that. Now, let's get straight to it, okay? If a Nigerian or an African filmmaker approached you now for a partnership, for a co-production, what key elements would you look for before committing? Listen, oh, listen. Thank you.
Besides the relationship that I read,
yes,
told, the story itself. The story. Yesterday I had a personal experience that was very rich for me. I was able to screen my feature film here in the Brazil Day, and it was a film that is made by Brazilian, mainly for a Brazilian market. It's not an international co-production, and I was very excited to see how the audience connected to the film. And it's a local story, a Brazilian story, and the audience totally connected with that. So the main thing is our main thing in making movies is the story itself. So what I really look for is the story. For me as a producer, what I like to receive is a pitch deck or a treatment to first evaluate the story. And by doing so, we continue to evaluate. I just would like to return quickly to the previous question about the collaboration. I suppose, yeah, because one thing especially for the writers, but also for the directors, is that filmmaking is a collective business. If you think that it's just one perspective that will remain, you are in the wrong business, because it's absolutely impossible to doing that in filmmaking. And what we look for when we start to discuss a collaboration is if we can agree in which type of project we are working together. Because if you have very different views, it's better to not set up the collaboration.
Right. Thank you so much for that. And Moses, just as someone that is on this side,
Yeah.
how can local producers, what practical steps can they take to become more investment ready for co-production before we go to our audience?
So you mentioned some of them. I think that it's important to be, very professional in approach. So you want to attract a partner internationally. Very important that you have a good setup, a decent setup, whether it's a registered production company at least, very articulate and very clear pitch deck. And it's not just doing a co-production for the sake of it. It's the creative tone or the standout factor of the story is also very clear, because you want to be in a position where, as much as you're seeking out this partnership, you want to be in a position where when you seek it out, you are also valued, right, in the conversation. I always believe that, having a decent resume as well is also important, because, that creates a level of, respect in that. So those are the kind of things I would say. And because of the way, again, I keep saying how Nollywood is structured, it's very important for people to understand that it's a very independent, industry that doesn't have US studios or the kind of infrastructure, that there is a knowledge of the commercials and the distribution dynamics. Yeah. That knowledge is also important, whether it's a local distributor that you have a relationship with, or whether it's your knowledge of the market or the continent. I think that also arms you with some ammunition that, look, I have an idea of how we're going to sell and how we're going to make money from this film. I think those are the kind of things I would recommend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yes, of course.
I in filming in other markets like India, which is very similar to Nigeria in the sense that it has its own internal way of producing, on top of investing in the structures, the legal, all that, the best investment you can make is your reputation. There will be compromises made to come and film in Nigeria from a US standpoint. The thing they can't compromise on is a bad reputation. And so I just leave that as one additional thing to, your reputation starts the first day you start working in this business. Timeliness, honesty, say what you mean what you say, all that. Those things are timeless and valuable for any kind of partnership.
Yeah. Please put your hands together for our panelists. Thank you. So I think we can take some questions from the house. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. Please, we start with our gentleman in front here, and then we'll go to our lady. So just tell us your name and your question.
Hello, everyone. Hello, the panel. Wonderful words of insight there. My name is Nimi Izunu. I'm an adventure painter, and I'm a producer of a film series called Flying Colors. So Flying Colors basically follows me as an artist, an adventure painter, to to different cities of the world where I make paintings about the culturally dense icons of those cities. So I have a POC, which is the pilot. I went to Paris during the Olympics, and I made a painting. I make paintings rather at the Louvre, Tour Eiffel, Chateau de Versailles, and it's a very hidden, beautiful place called Centre Pompidou. So the elements of flying colors is cultural exportation and discovery. So in every city that I visit, I try to sort of highlight an icon that is not very common to popular culture, and then I paint it or I talk about it. So there's the elements of negation, discovery, a bit of history, and then the final artwork. Now, obviously, with all these things I've said, you realize that it's a heavy budget, and it takes a lot. But we were able to do something. My question is twofold, actually. How can I get, it's very obvious, but how can I get funding from the Swedish people, actually, or the Swedish government to come to Sweden, come to Stockholm and make paintings in Stockholm to promote the Swedish culture? Because Sweden is one of the countries that is on the list for the entire episode. And the second question is, how can I also get technical support? This is targeted at you.
So technical and financial support.
But you do POV, like POV documentary? Or?
It's a POV film series.
Yes. No, a local producer. I mean, you just need to find a local producer that can apply money that you're going to shoot there. So if you have a local producer, then they apply money because you're going to shoot there. And then if you get the funding, then you have the crew. So I think I'll go back to the basics. It's all about creating relationship. So, and also depending on the portfolio, if they are interested in doing documentaries, miniseries that can travel. I think one of my girlfriends, she does that. So if you find somebody that actually we have one who I work with it. He's sitting in the back. He have work in documentaries traveling, so you can talk to him after this.
Can you wave, please, so we can know?
Yeah,
oh,
I'm talking to you,
all right,
Daniel.
then. There you go.
Yeah.
You have to talk to him.
So talk to him. So maybe you guys can connect because you live here and he have work in this kind of stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's just what we do here at AFRIFF. We're connecting people. We're collaborating. You know what I'm talking about? So, our next question. Oh, do you have
the technical support.
Oh, technical.
Especially.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Technical support too. So if you have the money, if you just need a technical support, then you reach out to a local producer or trying to get a connection through Daniel or me if you have the resources, I mean like financing. If it's not, then it's all about finding that so they can apply money, but it takes time too. So remember that, so it doesn't come right away and you might get rejected too. Maybe it's not interesting for those who finance it.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to add that when embarking, sounds like a very fascinating project, by the way, and congrats with what you've done so far. But I'd like to also add that when embarking on something that ambitious as well, those plans need to be very, very clear beforehand, rather than, because you never know at the stage you've got into whether it's acceptable to the partner you're looking to or looking for, funds or assistance with. So I think the plan has to be really documented and how you want to navigate it so that you don't put yourself at risk of the project being frustrated because no one quite understands your vision or your work.
Alrighty. All right, we have our next question over there.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Chineku Osakwe. My question is actually for you, Paul. You mentioned earlier about thinking about how, sorry, I can't see. You mentioned earlier about how Africans, people that are making films here, can connect with people in the US, for example, talk to them about changing their budget up and actually making it for less here. But how can you tangibly, I guess, talk about how...
Photographer, can we allow our question be seen and heard?
Might not have that access to know that those people are kind of working on their budgets. How do you kind of think about opening that line of communication? What does that look like logistically?
Yeah, I think this is a new concept. I don't think it's something that's been developed as something. I mean, first off, we all connect, virtually already. And, environments like this, festivals, I'm sure there are a lot of other people here from other places, connecting with filmmakers, building those relationships. That's going to be key. There's no, kind of one step-by-step guide. I'd start by, maybe reaching out to filmmakers from Instagram. Like, just start those connections. I've seen a lot of connections made like that, where it's like, wow, I liked your idea. Because, filmmakers, we're going to put the idea like we have it all figured out online, right? Like, I'm going to be shooting this in 2026. We haven't raised any money. But that's where those conversations can start and be like, hey, how much have you got? What are you thinking about spending? Let me tell you about how we can do it here. Maybe we can take off a piece of the production, or maybe we can add some element that makes it make sense here. I just think there's work that has to be done, but it's worthwhile because, you have a lot of frustrated filmmakers in America who might find freedom in learning the process here. And I think there's lots of filmmakers here who probably will enjoy collaborating with people who learned it the Western way too.
Does that answer your question? Fantastic. I think we have someone else with a question just behind you. If you could just give her the microphone. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. My bad. All right. That's Nengi People. She's an actress here in Hollywood.
Hi. Thank you guys for all the insights. I know that someone had mentioned that the stories were the very first thing to consider with international collaborations. What's next? If the story is great, what would you say would be the next step to doing so? And in addition to that, how do we structure these partnerships so that we're not losing our creative independence at the same time while telling these stories?
Okay, thank you. Well, in terms, the first thing is really, I do from my point of view, as a producer, what I always try to evaluate is our capability to raise the money for the project. We evaluate that when we look at the relationships that we have in Brazil, the type of funds that we have in Brazil. There are different projects that you go in different tracks there to try to raise money. So sometimes I may like a lot of the story or the project, but if I don't think I have the capability to raise the money for the project, I probably will not follow that project on, because, and that's very, I know it's very particular from each type of producer. So some project that I'm not able to raise money, the other producer may. So that's something very particular. So this is the second stage when I'll check the project, I'll check as they told the resume, the things that how the portfolio and how it makes a lot of sense for us. And if we can find a way that we are able to raise the money, then we'll start the discussions about what do you expect in terms of the project itself. That we must build a common view of what we are all looking for. Because if it's something that it's very different, perhaps it may generate future stress, and it's better to we have different views, and it's okay. And moving forward by that, and again, it's very particular how each producer work. Ourselves, we try to respect very much the author of the project, because we really believe that the soul of each project comes from the author. That's where the project was born, and we try to respect that a lot. But it's also, as I told before, we look for authors that are open to have discussions about the story. Because it's a balance, okay? We have to keep the roots in how the project was born, because it's what it probably will make it very unique. But it's also, we have to try to mix different notes, different feedbacks. For instance, if you have a distributor on board, if you have a private investor on board, all of those people that are partners, they will give notes, they'll discuss about the stories, about the crew, about the talents involved. So as I told, it's a collective. So it's very important for the person themselves to be open to this type of discussion. But you have to look the producers that have this type of relationships with the authors that you are looking for. Some types of writers perhaps, oh, okay, I just want to make my project happen. It goes mostly, and I'm not that, don't care that much how it will be made. It's different, it's okay also. So you have to look for what the producer have done before and try to talk to the people that work with that producer.
I see you nodding. Do you want to add anything quickly? No, you're good. He said it all, said it well. Nengi, we're good?
Okay.
All right.
So, hello everyone. So my question is for Philson. So 2 questions. The first is, so beyond meeting Swedish producers at events like this, are there like organizations, forums, if you wanted to connect with other Swedish producers and then start to build that relationship? Are there places that we could, maybe look up and, start connecting? So that's the first question. And the second one is, I don't know if you've done, other co-productions with other African countries, but has there been what's your success story with them? Do you have any particular one that, if you have done, if you haven't, that's fine. But if you've done other co-productions, it would be interesting to know how that went.
The first one is the reason I'm back here actually is trying to create that kind of market. Now that AFRIFF have this market, I think it's a great opportunity to do the same thing that we have done in the Nordics. The 5 Nordics, traveling around to different festivals and also doing speeding days, workshops. So we're trying to have that here next year. If it's not Sweden, at least the 5 Nordics. So that is one of the aim I'm here for, to establish that relationship, because I think it's very important to establish at least a relationship, and we do that all the time, which makes it so easy for us to collaborate because we know each other by now. After 2-3 years, we hang out too much. So that's what I will say. And no, I have not done any co-production yet, but I do have friends who have done it. The Dog was premiered last year, but it was a co-production in the sense that 90% of something like that of the money was coming from Sweden, but the
Kenyan one.
Yeah. The Kenyan one with Baker Karim, but they shot it in Kenya. So that's also like a way of co-production they made with the local Kenya production. And then we also have Medan Vi Lever, that was also an AFRIFF long time ago. And I think it was Gambian and Swedish co-production. So we have 2, so I'm hoping to have more because we are a lot of Afro diaspora in Sweden. And not only that, just like for distribution, like when you work together, you kind of help each other. Okay, my market like this and my market like this, so you kind of can help each other to reach more audience. Because I watch the Brazilian movies and I saw like all the audience loved it. And I'm like, okay, there's audience everywhere. So you just like, if we talk more, then we can help each other with the audience. So.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Yeah. All right. I think we have how many more questions? Once I count you, if I don't count you, you can't raise up your hand again. So 1, 2, 3 questions, and that's it. Or do you have a question? Oh, okay. Or a comment. Okay. So once he's done, okay, great.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, panelists. I wanted to ask this question on the former panel, but I couldn't. And I'm hoping I can actually, ask it here. It's about like the business side of movies, in particular to distribution. Yeah. So what would you say is a recommended distribution, addition that we can bring to the industry? Would you say we need more cinemas? Would you say we need more digital platforms? Do we need more internet, access? Yeah, so basically, are there any recommendation as to what other people can do to contribute to the distribution channel in Africa? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah. I think quite simply, just if we want to localize the solution. I think digital is the way. I think that a solution that that is bespoke in the sense that identifies what the challenge is. There's a big data cost challenge for a number of people to be able to access the internet. So a solution that is data free, and that's being worked on, and will be launched very, very soon. And I'm very excited about, and that people can access either through, content can get on it, whether it's curated, but also something that could be user generated and they can upload. I think, and then that the payment mechanisms are very easy to use, airtime, USSD, cards, and the likes. But a platform that includes all. You can't build cinemas fast enough. You don't have funding in the country enough for that. TV, there's so much bottlenecks around, liberalizing TV or getting it to be digital, and it requires a lot more investment. So digital, particularly with the mobile phones, that's where the big opportunity is, especially when you have over 100 million internet connected phones. That makes you a very huge market, and if you can get people to get content as low as 50 naira, and I'm pitching for a platform that's coming up soon to be able to do that. I think I'm really optimistic that changes the game. So that would be my 2 cents.
We are optimistic too. Are we seeing? Okay, so she has a comment quickly. Can we give the microphone to her? Thank you.
Hello. I'm in a similar position like you are. I'm a film producer from Austria and also a director. And I'm here with a documentary in the competition, which is an Austrian-Nigerian collaboration. But for 1 year, I was looking for a co-producer here. And I found that the documentary market here is difficult to find any money. And the Austrians, as the Swedish, demand between 10 and 30% of participation to make it a true partnership, right? And I know I'm working very hard for 10, 15 years now to get the Austrians to do this kind of economic treaties with countries like Nigeria. My next project is in Kenya. But again, between 10 and 30% have to come from these countries, which for me as a producer, it's very difficult to get this, but I hope that the Nigerian audiences and producers will look more into the documentary field, because our screening, like the Brazilian experience, it's a story called Race Relations. It plays in Nigeria and Austria, and I was very happy about the interest of the Nigerian audience in the Austrian part of the story, which I didn't expect to be so strong. So I think Nigerians are very interested in documentaries. And I'll ask you about distribution later. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We have two... Oh, sorry.
I wanted to say my 2 cents on documentary filmmaking and documentary as a business. It's evolving, it's coming. We just don't have the audience size that are willing to pay for it. They're quite small, but it doesn't mean that it should stop. My advice would be to find kind of budget levels that are a bit more realistic to the market you're willing to partner with, and to kind of understand those dynamics. But we could also speak offline. For you to understand it.
Very important that she understands the economic climate of where she is. And just before we take the next question, it's interesting that you talk about documentaries, because I think it was earlier this year, maybe about 3 months ago, that the first, I think, Nigerian first Emmy that we actually won as a country was actually a documentary. We remember the story about the ballet dancer that went viral 5 years ago during COVID. He was dancing in the rain, Madu. Yes. So a documentary was made. I believe they had started, the production phase, and then they were able to reach out for a co-production. Eventually, Disney was interested in the story, and he eventually went on to not just get a scholarship. He's in ballet school now in London, and the documentary also won an Emmy. So that really makes you think that there is a market for it. We just kind of have to pay attention. And if you remember, at one of the panel sessions, Choma actually said it, that we need more documentaries. So yeah, just putting it out there that there is a market, and we should definitely tap into it. We have 2 more questions. Microphone to the man in the brown blazer. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Louis Jofo. Thank you for this session. I mean, it's been very insightful. Thank you very much.
So can you just, yes,
can you hear
so
me?
can hear you.
Is it clear now? Yeah, thank you very much. It's been an insightful session, and I want to say thank you. I'm a filmmaker. I love documentaries. That's what I do. I just concluded my first documentary feature. It's called The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly of Afrobeat. It's in competition for this AFRIFF edition, and I just wanted to say it's a series. It's called The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly because I'm not saying we can get tired of hearing the good side of Afrobeat, but also some other stories that don't make it to limelight. This can be bad contracts. It can be whatever you may think, you know. So I'm done with the first episode. It's called The Pain Behind the Fame, and that features Cynthia Morgan. I told a story in a way that's never been told before. The question I want to ask now is monetization, right? And that's distribution, because it's heavily self-funded, and not just it being a passion project, it's something that I poured my heart into it, and I personally think it's good. But the situation right now is the next phase for me, because it's a series. I've started filming episode 2, which features Jesse Jacks. It's called Where is Jesse Jacks? And the question I want to ask is, I need to monetize the first episode heavily first before proceeding to the next one, which I think is a smart thing to do. So, I mean, the conversation we're trying to get it on Netflix and on Amazon Prime is very lengthy.
So you want to find out how to monetize this project that you're already working on. Who is your question directed at exactly?
I mean, to anybody who can answer me, it's fine. Yeah.
So who wants to take that one?
Yeah.
Paul? Moses?
The distributor.
Marcy?
No, look, what you're doing is pitching. I mean, that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get it together. You're going to have to pitch it. There's no there's no easy way around it. We all have to do it. Yep. There's nobody on this stage who doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to pitch it.
So, of course, I have a pitch ready. The thriller, it's on Instagram. It has over 220,000 views. Organically, I haven't
Yeah, but
pushed
you cannot pitch now.
I'm just saying.
I mean, after the panel session, just because we have another panel session going, I guess
stuff.
you should be able to walk up to them, after, just to get, a bit more insight.
Amazing. Thank you.
So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but we have to go. Thank you so much. I think
Congratulations, like really well done.
Yeah.
There is a path to monetization. With documentaries from this part, it's still a little challenging. I believe that this solution that's coming into the market gives you a chance working with the likes of those Afrobeat stars, because it also gives you a chance to create a community. I'm really, really bullish about this platform, and I hope that creators also, support it. If you don't mind me just sharing, it also has a back end for creators to see how they're monetizing and where the monetization is coming from, as well as instant, payments of what's going on. So you would have to try something. If you're willing to try YouTube, then you'll be willing to go there. And as you said, the streamers are not quite, they've scaled back. That opportunity for now doesn't exist. So it's got to be creative ways of either, indigenous platforms or YouTube to find those audiences. So yeah, but I think there's a way.
Definitely. Where there is a will, there's a way. All right, I think, we have a final question? And yes, so can you take that and we're done? Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'll keep it brief. I'll try to keep it brief. I work in the international co-production space, and we had a project that was initially a Canada-South Africa co-production. But because of the incentive issues in South Africa, it now became sort of like solely Canadian. And you had touched on it a bit, Paul, on not necessarily always having to go the treaty co-production route, but also there being unofficial. I know US has done a few unofficial co-productions, and forgive me if you've touched on it already, but if you can just kind of maybe give us a bit more into sort of, or any one of you who have worked on both sides of the treaty co-production and the unofficial co-production, like in terms of things like, okay, IP, who owns IP? For Canada, South Africa, we knew that, okay, 80% went to Canada, 20% went to South Africa, or maybe 70% to Canada, 20% to South Africa, and then maybe 10% to Nigeria as like a minor co-producer, because at the time there was no, or there is no yet, official treaty between Canada and Nigeria. And this is a project that is primarily Nigerian, to be shot primarily in Nigeria. So we're also, with Canada, they have their own restrictions and guidelines in terms of who owns IP, who you can cast, who gets to be your key creative. So maybe either one of you, but Paul specifically, because you mentioned the unofficial sort of route, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so obviously I can't speak on the official treaty side. Typically the IP rests with whoever took the most risk. So you'll have to negotiate it. It'll be a contractual issue. And usually it's by territory. I mean, ideally that's what you want, is you want, South Africa to have their territory, and you want Canada to have their territory, and then you use any other territories to help offset, the cost. But it's, the treaties are a little different, but it'll be, whoever puts the most money in, whoever puts the hardest money in, like the part you can't get easily, you usually have to give up a lot of the rights for that, and maybe you can, transition that with recoupment. The equity comes back to you. Sometimes you can put a clock on it what they put in, they own a percentage of that copyright for a particular amount of time, and then it reverts back. There's a lot of different ways to kind of to clever it up. What I would say is just be real clear about what it is you have to have, and what it is that you're going to have to give up to get it, and decide if that's worth it to you. But someone else may be able to speak on the actual physical treaty part.
Does anybody want to touch on that, or do you think Paul's handled it quite well? Yes, please.
He's handled it well.
Yes, please put your hands together for Paul, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to do this very quickly just to, wrap it up nicely. I want each panelist for just a minute, and I'm going to time you because we're out of time. Just seeing how this conversation has started, hearing the questions. If there's anything that is kind of still heavy on your mind that you think you just need, almost like your final comments about global film investment and how we can attract international co-productions and partnerships, now will be the time. And I'm actually going to set a timer. So once you hear the alarm go off, it's done. Okay, so I'll start with you. Ladies first.
Thank you.
And go.
Okay, I think this market is a perfect market to have, to attract more producers from different areas and get to know each other. So I think this is a good start for global collaboration.
She did that in 10 seconds. Fantastic.
That's tough. My advice would be it's a marathon. It's not a 100 meters race. You have to be prepared for that. It's not a matter of how much speed you put in the beginning, but the long run that you'll be able to last. That's a typical co-production and project construction.
Okay, Moses?
Yeah, I think people, particularly from outside coming in, to stop listening to naysayers. An institution like AFRIFF exists for filtering and for you to be able to know the kind of people to work with and to talk to and have relationships with. So I would counsel that engage them should you want to do projects with Nigeria.
Alrighty then, Paul.
What I would leave with is I really liked what Moses was saying about the platform that he's looking at. We don't have a finance problem. We have a distribution problem. And we should be all hands on deck trying to figure out how to redefine distribution. These existing systems weren't made for us. We're trying to adapt to them, and we shouldn't have to. You should be able to tell your stories. My threshold is every mediocre African director, producer should have an opportunity, because we've given mediocre producer and directors all over the world opportunities. That's why I leave it.
Thank you. Please put your hands together one more time for Paul Gans, Filson Ali, and Marcio Yatsuda, as well as Moses Baba Tope. We've come to the end of this panel. Thank you so, so much. Can we have a media? Oh, sorry, I'm not the host, I'm moderating, I forgot.
Media team, pictures, please. Thank you very much to our panelists. This is the timer. So we'll take a 10-minute break and come back for our final panel, which is just for context, this 10 minutes would actually be 10 minutes. Also, just a reminder, if you weren't here earlier, the Brazil reception is going to hold outside here at the foyer at 6 p.m. If you're around, please do well to attend. Yeah. So the next panel is on making of a Nollywood blockbuster series. If you've seen Seven Doors, a film by Femi Adebayo, it's happening here.